All right, what's up, coaches? Welcome. So right now we're going to get into the 3x1 versus a cover 4. So last time we did this 2x2 versus cover 4, talked about how you can beat it. Now we're going to get into the 3x1 version. And just a mini recap here, what we want to do is attack these safeties and attack these flats, and then you also have the ability to attack the mic in a one-on-one situation, right? Those are really the weaknesses in this. And when I say, right here, this is obvious. An obvious weakness we can throw to the flats. Anytime we have somebody running vertical, then we have the ability to attack the flats. The safeties, this is more of, they have a dual responsibility. So if we can get them to commit to the box or hesitate a little bit, or if we can send somebody vertical, get them to latch on and then throw that post behind it. This is what I mean by we try to attack that, okay? So those are really the things that we're gonna design everything for, to attack these flats, these safeties, and then somewhere in this middle area here, in between these backers and really a one-on-one with the mic. That's kind of what we're looking for there. Okay, so let's get into it. All right, we're going to talk about drive first. The way that I like to run drive versus a 3x1 here, I like to run my drive like this. Okay, this is the way most teams will do it as well. And then it depends on what you do with this X. You can have him tighten up. You can run something like this if you want and have like more of a flood variation there. I like to just have a 6-step speed out. You've got your dig, you've got your drag. Don't mind the depths of those. This should be 10 to 12, and this should be right around here. It depends on what you want to do. Air raid teams will probably have this run at the heels of the defensive end. You can also just have him attack a little bit vertical and then get across 3-4 yards. And then you have the ability to settle if it's pure zone, right? So that if this wheel really flies out here, then we can settle right in there. And now we've got an easy completion there. If not, we can always work back to this dig. Now, what you do on this backside here, this really depends on your quarterback, if they can make the throw. But you could have this be a post. You could have this be a hitch. You could have this really be a stay route or just a vertical and just have him run off, and we're not throwing that. So any of those are really fine. And then what we do with the running back on this side, we're going to check. Either checking here opposite, because we're looking to the left first. That'll be the first read. That'll be the second read, third read. So pure progression from left to right. Okay, pure progression. And then we want to have a check down over here. So it depends on how you get there. If you half slide to the right to protect the quarterback's blind side because he's looking left, then running back's going to have to check here, avoid this drag route, and then work over and settle in space, or work here, break and run and out to the right here to the field. That's another possibility, and that's really the one-on-one situation with the mic. If he gets up here, stutters, and then breaks, you'll see a lot of teams. It looks kind of like mesh. If you look at this, then it really does look like a mesh variation right there. So you can do that. That's quite effective. So what we have with this, okay, on the drive, again, if the wheel gets wide, we have the ability to throw this drag coming across. He has the ability to settle as well. And then again, once we press vertical, we're gonna have to win on this dig route on the other side of this mic. Okay, we have to win on that on the other side of the mic. So this is really corner we expect to bail, right? Cover 4. This does not work the same way if it's cover 2. If it's cover 2, he's gonna have to mandatory outside release, and it'll have to be a hole shot. But if it's cover 4, we get the corner out of here, he's no longer a threat. We assume that the corner is not a threat. We assume that the will, this outside backer, is the one who can make the play. He can get underneath that out route, undercut it, and get the pick 6 here. So we want to avoid that. And the way that we do that is if he goes and sprints, then we have our next route coming into that area, okay? So that's the first one here. Let's jump into the next. Let's go Hoss. Okay, we got a couple different things. Hoss, bow, stick, converts. We're going to go through all those in a minute here. So Hoss, the way that I like to do this is stolen directly from my college coach, who stole it directly from Joe Flacco at Delaware way back in the day. So vertical right here, we're going to run a hitch in, okay, and then again a hitch in. Now the way that you read this gets a little bit difficult, but I like to read this as this is a gift. Okay, if you ever see any of my playbooks, if you buy the two-day playbook course, you'll get this, and you'll see this all the time. It's a gift, right? It's not in the progression. We're taking it pre-snap if it's there. A ton of times when we ran this play, this is what we threw over and over and over, right? Because this outside backer has to be occupied a little bit with number 2 releasing vertical, because you don't know until this point, you don't know if he's going to stem vertical and he has to get hands on it and make contact. and the corner usually to the field bails, so we have the ability to catch, step, fire. Catch, step, fire. If your quarterback can make that throw, that's an easy completion for 5 yards in space, usually a pretty good athlete, and then we can make somebody miss, get 8 yards while he gets tackled by the corner or something. So we have that as a gift. I think my college coach actually taught this as a 1, 2, 3. And I've used that before as well. You can kind of experiment with how you want to do that, but I really like this as just a 1. And this is, if it's a 1 high safety, we're going to press vertical. If it's 2 high safety, we're going to split the safeties and make this more of a bender. If this, if you widen out a little bit, you could do that, widen out a little bit and have him potentially even outside release depending on how wide this is. If he's splitting the difference, if he's more apex, I wouldn't do that. I would just say we're splitting the safeties. That's going to be our big thing. But you have to press here first and then bend it in, and then we're working this. And then we have this essentially a high-low on the mic. So I would treat this as a 1 to 2, and then I want to have something over here with my running back as a 3, right? Offenses love triangles, okay? This is what we're trying to hit. And then we also have the ability to throw this hinge on the backside. So normally tell your X start at the top of the numbers. We're going to go, I think it's 4 full speed steps with 3 decelerations. I have to check in my playbook. It's been a while since I talked about that route in detail. But 4 full speed steps, 3 decelerations, that should get you, yeah, it is that, should get you about 8 yards when you break down. And then you have, you're going to end up at about 6 yards. So we want to aim for the middle of the numbers. When we break down, we're rotating our hips opposite, and then we sit on the outside. So that's what I've referred to as a hinge. Again, most of this stuff is stolen from other coaches, but this is the way that I've always taught this and had a ton of success with it. This is quarterback gets a snap, catch, 1, throw, right? Just catch, boom, fire. That's the timing of it. Usually you're going to get if the corner plays off, we can take this easy completions, right? Again, this one is another gift. So on this play design right here, we have 2 gifts that are not in the progression. And then once we have our normal progression, we have 1, 2, 3. That's our triangle read. So I really like things like this. Imagine how simple this is for a quarterback. Is it open? Yes, take it. Easy. That's the whole decision process. Is it open? Yes, take it. Easy, right? If not, we just have a 1, 2, 3, okay? In verse cover 4, we do have this. A lot of times the mic will run with this. Be careful. Make sure you tell your quarterbacks to be careful about this backside safety, because you have to determine if teams are playing this as a backside safety. Is he helping 3 vertical or is he helping 1 vertical? That's going to make a major difference in how this works. If this is a little bit cloudy, the way that this can be completed is literally in a sliver right there, and it's going to be over the mic, and it's going to be right down the middle of the field, kind of a 2-ball in order to make that happen. It can't be lobbed. That can't happen. It's not going to work. It's going to get picked off by this backside safety. So make sure that you figure out what he's doing before you call this play. And then if your quarterback is a little bit unsure of things, gifts are big, right? Gifts are big, and then never force anything deep down the middle. Go to the checkdowns, right? This and this, those are going to be there for you, especially when this mic runs out. This could open up massively. Here. Make sure you tell this guy not to be full speed as well. It doesn't really work too well if he's trying to rush that whole process. He can do a little bit of a skip, bam, bam, bam. He breaks in, finds a space. We complete it here, catch it, and then he can get vertical and make a man miss. Okay, so that's Hoss. Hoss is hitch seam. All right, so now we've got a bow concept. Bow is very similar. So bow is we're running vertical, but we're going to break for the dig. I like to have this as a little spot route. You can cross the stem, but you don't necessarily have to. And if it's man, we can run. Right here, we can have this be an option, but I like to tell my running backs to break out or settle. Do not break in because we have the dig there. He's got to run off, and then you can have this be a post. Okay, so again, we have the triangle. You'll see this shape everywhere. And then we have 1 to 2 to 3. Or, and this is depending, if this is your best athlete, do that, especially if you want to throw him in empty. This is the way you should design your playbook, that basically you can just take this concept and make it work versus a 2x2 versus a 3x1 versus a 3x2. You should be able to run your concepts in multiple formations, multiple formation tags as well. So if that's your best athlete and you want to get him the ball, make sure this is a free release, okay? Free release. So he's got to get out there. He cannot check and be the first read. He can check and be the last read if you want to do that. But that really is, to me, this is an empty protection. Let's go through this one more time. I'll talk about the protection in a second here, and why it needs to be empty. So one, I would prefer to do this. I've experimented with both of these. This to me is the best option because a lot of times you can be able to throw this one here. Right when he settles here in zone, bam, fire it right there, easy catch, okay? Then we can work to the dig, and then we have the ability to get to this late because it is a longer developing route than this, okay? That little spot route here is a lot quicker. Why we need to do empty protection. So let's say we're going to read this to the right side first. Normally we'd be working away, okay? And if the running back has to check over here, there's no way he's going to get all the way over there for that third read. It's going to take way too long, okay? If we have this as a slide here, technically we can do that, okay? You can do that and have the quarterback's front side really protected because his eyes are going to be over here with that read. The other thing I would prefer to do, because I'm not a huge fan of this, I would rather just go big on big, right? So we're going to block. If this is, all these diagrams are four-man front, you have to make sure your rules fit for everything. But the way that I like to do this, big on big versus a four-man front, we're going to do 4 down plus the mic. So whoever we identify as the mic, in that case, will be this guy. That's great. If he wants to pressure, perfect. We have answers for that. If the will pressures, great. We have an answer for that as well. So you have things available. All right. What else we got here? If it's a 3-man front, we'll probably have other videos on the channel for big on big versus a 3-man front, so I won't get into that right now. So that's bow here. You could also call this wrap. I've been trying to figure out exactly how to call this. This, by the way, if you watch any team in the NFL, and this, by the way, this doesn't have to be 5 yards downfield. This could be broken at 1 yard downfield. It could be broken in the backfield and run a flat route. I don't really care. As long as you get out there and you drag this wheel with you, then that's what we're looking for. But this right here, the dig with this little spot route and the out and the flat route by the other defender, that is one of the most common things you'll see in the NFL by far. You'll see this. Every single team will run this exact concept, and it doesn't need to be in the way that I just drew it here. Imagine you have him a little bit tighter. He runs a spot route, he runs a flat, or he runs a flat wheel. Either way, it's the triangle in the middle of the field with that dig, a spot route, and then something working in that same location over here to create this. You can do that however you'd like. You can run this as a flag with an out route by the running back or flat route by the running back. It doesn't matter, okay? So you can get creative with it. It just conceptually it targets the same thing. So that's what you want to think about. All right, next one here is going to be stick. There's a million different versions of stick that you can run. The way that I like to do this is just the pretty simple way. On the backside, I always treat this as a dig on the backside, and we're going to check or just actually get to the flats quick. So we're going to be here and out. We can run big on big protection for this as well. If we do a half slide, we're going to have to slide here. Okay, but we're doing it as a 5-man, not a check situation. So actually ignore that entirely. I don't think I've ever run stick with a check, but either way, what you get with this is you get a triangle in this situation here. That can be really effective. It's if you read this as a 1 to 2 to 3, to like check down there, that can be good. I like that versus a lot of times, I mean, in this too high cover 4 situation, I think this is a pretty good look. You can also read this as a 1 to 2 to 3. Whoa, shit. Let's do that again. All right, you can do 1 with this out, okay? 1 with this, 2 with this, 3 with this dig, okay? And then you can have this here be a check down on the backside. That's supposed to be a check. Okay, so that's another way that you can read this, depending on how you want to set it up in your offense. There's other things that you can do with this, right? This little chair concept here. You can also run a slot fade and a little hinge, and that gives you the same thing, right? With 1 deep, you have to have something deep, you have to have something in the flats, and then you have to have something in the stick, right? So as long as you have that triangle over here, the way you set it up can be totally different, right? It doesn't really matter. So you can run any variation of that. And the reason I like the dig on the backside with this, especially with number 3 running the stick, that's my favorite here. The reason I like this a ton is because if you get this mic working over to this, it opens up a huge lane here. Normally, safeties are not that aggressive to jump this on the backside. It can happen for sure. It's definitely happened a ton of times in practice when our safeties learn exactly what we're doing. But if you get that, then of course you can always find things to attack that, like something like this, where if he's going to jump this on the backside, then we have the ability to throw it over his head. That is a variation that we've used, and that'll also really hold this safety because he has 3 vertical at times. So yeah, one thing. It's not a stick variation, but it's just a counter. When you build your offense, you have to make sure if they're going to, if we run this and they have that problem, okay, well, how do we solve that problem? That's usually just the little cat and mouse game that you have. So I really like sticks versus this. Puts the mic in a really bad situation. The nickel here, or Sam, however you want to call it, or dollar or whatever, they have to respect number 2 vertical. If we press vertical here, if it's press man, make sure you tell him to run a speed out and get out quicker. The last thing that you want is him to fight this guy. He already broke and ran his out, and now the nickel can come back after pressing him and come underneath and make a big hit or get a pick or something like that. So if it's press man, just get outside and drag him out. You're really not getting the ball most likely. Okay, unless he's a stud athlete and he'll be able to, put some wiggle on him and actually create some separation here. And then it's a good option. Okay, then you could do that. All right, next one here, Verts X Drag. So this one was introduced to me last year. It was great. So we would always just send this guy vertical in a too high shell. He's really not looking to get the ball. He's going to be splitting these safeties. He's working here. You can do this in 2 different ways, right? I've seen people teach this. I've also taught this in the past, like this, and then he would be the one to split the safeties, and then he'd be running vertical, and then we'd be really targeting the H on this. I prefer having the Y be the one running vertical. He's just occupying this safety here, and he's here. Now, if we do regular verts, this safety has to choose between one or the other, right? And that's the way that it works. But if you tighten this up and you run a drag here, he's running out of here. He's got 3 vertical to a certain extent, so he has to occupy this. And a lot of times what you'll have is you'll be able to just fire the X right there. And now he's catching the ball in space because nickel's getting hands on number 2 vertical, not trying to allow a free release. So if you do this, this is one way to get the ball in your hands, but get the ball in the hands of one of your best athletes in space. So this is a huge one that I've used a ton of. So big fan of that, and that was also just introduced to me in the last few years here. So keep that one in your back pocket. If you haven't tried it, try it. It really does clear things out there. Okay, Slade or flood. All right, so what Slade, I got that from Coach Dan Casey, actually. I've been running this play, but I didn't know exactly what to call it. So it's a slot fade and a delayed slant underneath, right? So if you do this, I like to have this. You can have this guy run vertical. You can have this guy run a climb route, a quick slant, and then he would be the first read, and then it would be 2 to 3, or you can do this as 2 up here and 3 underneath because this one's a little bit more of a delayed. I actually like that a little bit better. So then you have 1 to 2 to 3. The 3 will be really what we're trying to hit, because if this player gets hands on number 2 and then he comes underneath, this is massively wide open. This guy will actually catch the ball with at least 8 yards of space inside vertical, because the safety is not coming down that aggressive when number 2 goes vertical, right? So this safety stays back because he's got this. The slant comes underneath. If he widens too much, bam, that's right there. If he's going to pass it off, he has to press it vertical and split these guys, but that's really not a situation that you want. So you're just going to have to come back to a check down here, and a check down, you could have this be check and just sit, find space, and be an option. On the backside, you can do whatever you'd like with this. You could send this guy vertical. You can send the hinge. You can really tag anything, any access throw, 2-step out, 4-step out, 6-step. That's all available for you. You could also have this guy tighten up, press vertical, and run a deep corner to maybe try and occupy this safety at all with a tighter alignment. But if he's really doing his job, he's probably going to be looking to 3 vertical anyways. But yeah, that's one thing you can do, and you can also add a little flat route by the running back there as well. So this one in particular, I really like this specifically to target this player. right? This one's huge. Another thing that I did see, who was running this? Dion's team was running this, Colorado. They would run this and break and run a comeback off of it. So if the corner, the way to stop this, right? The way to stop this is for the nickel to pass this off and sit on this slant, and the corner to bail and take this slot fade. But if that occurs, then the counter to that is a comeback right off of that. And it's a tough throw, but it's an arced throw. You don't have to laser it, but it's a little bit of a two ball. And that comeback can be massive, right? Big completions there, big first downs. I mean, you're catching that 10 to 12 yards or something like that. And those could be good. So that's another little wrinkle that you can add in if your quarterback can make that throw. If not, I wouldn't try it because it's difficult. Next thing here is a flood variation. So you can run flood a ton of different ways. I've seen it run as a flat route, and then my number 3 is the one breaking and running this. You just have to beat this safety here. But this nickel will normally widen out, and that ball can be zipped in there, basically like a deep stick, right? That's kind of what it looks like. You can also run it here where he outside releases. I always get that question whether you should outside or inside release. It depends on the leverage and what they're giving you, right? So I don't mind either. As long as you can find the space afterwards, then you can do that. So that would be a traditional flood of what I'm really used to, and I think what most people are used to is 1 vertical, 2 out, number 3 running the flat. But again, what do you need? You need something deep, you need something intermediate, and you need something short. That could be this, right? It doesn't matter. It's still a flood variation. It still gets there. It just gets there in different ways. Okay, so you have to look at, apply the concept, flood, apply that concept and apply it in different ways that fits what you're really looking for. Another thing you can do with this, I may even have this in here. Do I have it? I don't, but here's something else that you can do. You can run this, okay, a little scissors concept. It's a variation of a flood, right? But most of the time what ends up happening is we have number 2 vertical, he's gonna stay on this, and then there you go. And then another thing, off of this, I saw Peyton Manning do this when he was playing for, I think this was Denver. It was a fourth quarter drive versus Baltimore, I believe, and they ran a like scissors pump or whatever you want to call it. It was a post, it was a corner and up, and they ran this. Not kidding. I think it was 4 times in one drive, and they completed 3 of them. And that allowed them to drive down the entire field. I think the touchdown was the same thing they threw every single time. I have to find that clip somewhere because it was pretty crazy watching that and thinking like, did they just run the same damn play, 3 to 4 times in a row in a critical situation? Like they're that confident in the concept. So that was kind of interesting. But so you have the ability to attack that. On the backside of flood, so let's say you're running that. I really like to do this as a dig on the backside. Obviously not working in that far, but vertical, run the dig, then we can have a check. We can check on this side and work over if we're half sliding to the left here. Okay, so we can treat this as our flood, and this is our next read here. So this could be an alert, right? If we really, really like it, sure, we can do that. And then it could be a 1 to 2 to check down, or you can also have this as a 1 to 2 to 3 to check down, right? Either one, or if you want to go low to high. I like going more high to low because we can always come back to this if we want, because it's normally going to be there either way late. So you have the ability to take that. If you get any pressure, normally this is a good option. But yeah, having this dig on the backside is really beneficial because I think that really opens things up. Everybody's working this way. Mike is opening up, looking over here, and then we just basically have to beat this safety from driving down too aggressively. So that's why also working and attacking him in can be really nice. So you can kind of toy around with the way that you want to run that route on the backside. All right, next one, we've got an over concept. Okay, I actually just kind of made this up. I talked about this before, right? So this is the dig, and this is the deep over. Okay, so if you do that, running back is going to be here. So this is really a high-low in this situation, and we're going to run this as that over here. And you can really do anything that you want with these 2 receivers because what we're really looking to do is kind of a weak flood and on this side of the field. That's what we're doing. But if the safety starts to jump this dig, okay, on any of your concepts. If he starts to jump that, then this is where that can be a touchdown throw. Okay, so just have that in your back pocket, that if you start to run into that problem, that exact problem with that safety, then you can do that. Now this, so you know how this works, okay? If they have their rules set up to where the backside safety takes 3 vertical, which a lot of teams do, then you're going to end up throwing the dig. Okay, that's normally what's going to happen. The wheel's going to widen out. He's going to see the running back. He'll fly out, and then bam, we have this right here. Okay, and this is just a quick 10-yard dig. Boom. Whenever we called this, we always wanted to throw this and have this backside safety attack this, but they never did. They had him play here. Corner also continued to bail, and then this is 10 yards a pop. If the safety recognizes it, comes down to make the tackle. But normally this is a big gain every single time. So this is definitely something to include in your toolkit. And next one we have is a Mills is a bow variation. Okay, so if we run back to that bow again, remember if we do this, this here. Actually, sorry. Let's do the bow variation. Got it. Okay. That's what I was talking about. So another way that you can run this, also I have experimented with this as well. This works quite nicely. So imagine what Mills is, right? Mills is going to be from a 2x2. That's what Mills is. Post, dig, drag. That's Mills. But what we can do is we can go post, we can go dig, and then we can get to that same area with this stick variation. So if the stick is there, great, we take it. First read, easy, okay? That would be the second read, and then we can alert if we're playing against cover 4, which is now we can say, okay, hey, let's run this variation because we know we're playing cover 4. Safety will commit, we get him to stay in, and then bam, we throw this post, try to drop the ball in the hash, and then that could be really effective, right? If you do that, you can have this be a little spot route on the back. You can have this be a flat route. You can run anything you want, really. I would probably do this. I wouldn't even worry too much about, you can have this guy run off, and then I would have this guy check. So you have 6-man protection and then leak out into the flats late, because realistically, 9 times out of 10, you'll be able to throw this stick here. If not, you have the ability to wait for this dig, and this will take a little bit of time anyways, so we can allow that time to occur. And then we have the ability to fire this if we're really seeing, okay, cool, it definitely is going to be a cover 4. This is a good option if you like the matchup between these guys, right? So you have to think about how you want to do that. And that's about it for this lesson here. So hopefully you got a ton of information from that, and you can attack the next cover 4 that you see from these different looks. Make sure you go back and watch the 2x2, watch the 3x1. If you really want a lot of this stuff actually drawn out in a lot more better quality than what I have on these little diagrams here, then I have my 2-day offensive playbook course. You can find that in the link below. It's very cool. There's a ton of detail in there, and I actually give you my entire playbook. You can download PDFs, or you can also import it directly into your Huddle account, so you don't have to do any of the editing. Everything is included in there, the code words, the signals, all the diagrams, the progressions, the rules for things. It's all set up in there, so it's really, really easy for you. So go ahead and check that out. It's in the description below. See you in the next one.